Hello Reborners, my name is Karen and this is Making Dolls with Karen. We're back with Liam and he has had his bake, and just as I predicted, he looks like he has practically no color on him at all. Everything gets lighter, so I usually put 2 coats of enhancements on my dolls to make them even look like they have anything on them. Anyway, he didn't get, some of him even wasn't even enhanced in the first go around because, well, he got his creases instead, and you can't really do those in the same step because they'll just wash each other out. So anyway, I'm going to be recoloring some of his face, and then we'll move on to coloring his hands and his feet, and we'll explain how and why you do certain things to those. I'm going to start with his face, and the dog's going to start barking, it looks like. I'm going to use this great big brush because it probably has a lot of paint in it, and I'm going to reblush him all over his cheeks and up here on his forehead, and try to make him look a little darker than he is. I'm not going to redo his ears or his, well, I already redid his nose, but a lot of him doesn't need redoing. It's dark enough. It's just his, really, pretty much it's his cheeks and his forehead and everything are not dark enough. They're just not. And so we're going to pounce this around a bit, and it's going to be much darker this time because, well, it just needs to be. And that way when we put the layers on, it will show through the layers and you will see blush. I don't like it on top. A lot of people wait till last and put it on top. I like it as an undertone, but feel free to do it the other way if that's what you want to do. I like it better this way, and I've done it multitudes of different ways. When you spend your years making dolls, then you try to branch out a little and try something new because everything gets boring. And so that's how I discovered a lot of the things that I do. I discovered it by actually just trying it. Okay, I'm going to come back to his face to do his, that's much, much better. And I'm going to come back to his face to do his lips after I've done the rest of his limbs and stuff. Now, on the limbs, there's several different things that you can do. Usually, there's blue on the bottom of the feet, a little bit where the arch is. Babies don't really have an arch, but they make arches on these dolls, a little bit at least. Babies just have big fat feet, a big pad of fat across the bottom of their feet. But right where the arch is supposed to be is usually a little bit blue. So I'm going to try to put a little bit of blue there. I don't know if it's going to work out real good because, well, my blue brushes don't have much blue on them. In fact, they have very, very little. And if I have to do it with wet paint, I'll have to do 6 or 7 coats. So I'm trying this first. And now, when it comes out, it may not show. So that's a risk we're going to take right now. I'm just going to keep swirling it on there till it looks dark enough. I can see it, but I don't know if it'll show after he's baked. But anyway, that's what we're going to go with on that foot. And then we're going to do this foot the same way. See how cute the little creases look on his foot? They look a lot better after they've baked. They just look like funny lines crisscrossing their feet before that. But they just start to look really, really cute. And as the paint goes on, they kind of fall into the background, but you can still see it, and it's cute. Try to find another brush that may have a little more on it. Or something darker, maybe. That's a little darker. Look at that. We want this to show, but we don't want it to be super dark. It won't be. This won't be super dark. Now, the rest of the foot, I absolutely have to dip my brushes today. The rest of the foot on the bottom, we're going to paint red. It's going to look kind of pinky. We're going to do the backs of the toes real good. And we're going to do all around the blue we just did, avoiding the blue with our brush here. And just the bottom. We're not doing the sides or the tops of the foot. We're just doing the bottom. Look how cute that is. Some people do the tops of the toes, some people do not. But if you're going to do the tops of the toes, you have to remember to do the sides of the toes, because it just looks funny if the top and the bottom are painted and the sides are not. I do the toes because I think they're cute. You don't have to. All this stuff is optional. It just makes your doll look a little cuter. And we need all the help we can get to make our dolls look cute. Especially the ones that are kind of cartoony looking anyway. Cute little pink toes. So we're going to lay that down now. And we're going to go to this other foot. And we're going to do the same thing to this one. If you're running out of paint in your brush, you just switch to another brush. Remember, I'm using dry paint for all enhancements. And when he goes back in the oven, I'll be re-dipping my paint brushes to be able to have them wet enough for the next time. Even though it is a dry paint, it still is a little bit moist. I don't know how it stays moist. It's just some kind of magic that I don't understand. And anyway, it's very cute. And I'm going to do the toes now. There's also a variety of different ways you can do the hands. Some people, and I've done this to a lot of dolls too, some people paint the entire foot and the entire hand pink. Instead of just the toes on top and the foot on the bottom, they'll just do the whole foot. And I've done that too. That's also another option you can go with. Or just don't paint them pink at all and just let them be the color that they come out with the skin tones. But I like this, it's cute. Okay, now on the hands, I really do like, but it's very hard, to paint all these little segments separately and individually, leaving a little bit of room where the creases are, so it looks like every little section was blushed separately. But it's just too hard to do. I've done it before, and it looks really cute, but it just takes forever. And now I just usually paint the entire fingers, top and bottom, pinker, than the rest of the hand. And you can do the whole hand if you want to. Just paint the whole hand pink. Some people do that. It's just all different. It just is a choice, a personal choice, what you want to do. And you don't have to paint any of it pinker. Just let it be the color that it is. I did many, many dolls that way too. But I didn't have anybody guiding me to say, hey, you know, this looks cute. I've done it before. Or show me that they did it and show me how cute it is. I didn't have anybody. I kind of scratched and clawed my way up all by myself. Like I said back when I was starting, I don't know if I said this in this video, but I said it in some other ones. Back when I was starting to be an artist, people were doing very weird things. Very, very weird things. And you just had to take what people did with a grain of salt and just sort of wing it on your own and decide. And if you were following somebody, well, you might just be messing your doll up because they did really, really weird things. So I just sort of watched some videos and said, well, I'm not going to do that. And then I would sort of try to take something away that maybe I could use. And sometimes I couldn't take anything away that I could use. It was just a total bust. The whole video would be a bust. And so I would just go, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. And so I sat down. I got my first kit. It was Spencer. And he was on sale. And I thought, well, you know, if I'm going to mess up a kit, I'm going to mess up a cheap one. And his kit was pretty cheap. Back then you could get a sale kit for $12 or $13, you know, all the time. And it wasn't even on a deep discount. It was just on a discount. And I just bought a kit and a body, and I sat down and I stared at it. I didn't even mix paint. I sat down at my table and I just looked at it and I go, well, I know I'm going to paint it, but not right now. This is running out of paint. I'm not going to do it right now because I'm not sure what I want to do. So I just laid it down on my table and got up and walked away. And I thought about it for a while. It took me about a week after I got all my supplies and everything to decide I wanted to actually get out some containers and start mixing paint. So I got out my little containers and I started mixing the paint. And right off the bat, I mixed it way too dark. There, that's pretty good for fingers. Look at that. And when I put it on the doll, it was just, oh, super, super dark. And so I said, well, I need to tone it down a little. And so I just went like that. I just sort of decided right at the moment what it was I needed to do next. And it sort of worked out. All these brushes have to be dipped again now because I used them. Now that he's got his second enhancements going here, I'm going to redo his lips and nails. And I'm going to be using this again. We have to do it 3 or 4 times before we're going to have lips the color that we want. As soon as you get lips the color that you want, just stop. You don't need to do anymore. But I like to put it on slowly and thinly because it just looks a lot better at the end. I could show you lots of dolls with good lips and lots of dolls with bad lips. I have to take my glasses off for this because I don't see well with them anymore. I need new glasses, but I can't really get to the eye doctor. I don't have a car, and I have to have an eye doctor that will accept my insurance. And Walmart has a vision center that does, but not the one here in my town. And the little bus that the county provides for elderly people and disabled people to ride to go get their groceries and go to the doctor and stuff will only go in your county. So I can't get to the next county where the Walmart does have a vision center where I can get me a pair of glasses. Sad but true. But anyway, it is what it is. And I've had these glasses probably for 5 or 6 years, at least that long. I don't really know for sure, but it's been a long time. I don't just run to the doctor and get a new pair of glasses every year. I wear the glasses I have until I can't see good out of them anymore. And I'm there now. I can't see good out of them anymore. I can see, like, if I'm just walking around the house or, you know, sitting outside or something like that. But if I have to read or do something up close like this, I have to take them off. Because now I see better without my glasses than I do with my glasses. Isn't that a kick? I never did really need bifocals, not really. When I was still working, I got bifocals because I had to read a variety of different, I had to use a computer at work, and you know, you're looking at a piece of paper or a document or something that you're trying to enter something off of into the computer, and you can't see it because you I don't know, it's like your glasses are only designed for 2 different lengths, like seeing out and reading. But the computer is a little further away than what you're going to read on a document, and it's a little harder to see what's on the computer. So I needed trifocals then. But after I stopped working, I didn't need that anymore, and I went back to bifocals, which I actually can see really good up close without my glasses. I can read and everything. So if I get like something that has small print on it and I need to read it, I actually, even with the bifocals, I can still read better without my glasses. But you know how doctors are, they want you to get the bifocals, so you get the bifocals. Okay, that's his lips done. They look like this now. See, they're starting to get darker. Every step is going to give him darker and darker lips until we have a color that we like. Now I'm going to do his nails again, and same thing there. We're going to put thin coats on, and we're going to try to make them as smooth and pretty as we can every coat we put on there, because it does matter. If they're a little bit scratchy looking at the end, the shiny stuff we put on them to protect them and make them glossy looking will correct some of that. It will smooth it out and make it look less bumpy. But if it's really bumpy or scratchy looking, nothing's going to help it really. So we need to smooth our paint out as good as we can and make it look super fantastic. Every little step we do, we're going to try to do our very best at it. That's what my mother taught me. She said, you know, a job worth doing is worth doing well. And she used to make us do everything correctly. You know, it's not good enough to just throw the blanket up on your bed all wrinkly and messed up. You better get the wrinkles out. She said, you know how to smooth them out. Just because you're 10 years old doesn't mean you have to make a lumpy bed. And, you know, a lot of kids get by with it and their parents come back in there and fix the bed for them. My mother made us go back and do it right. She'd go, you just smooth them wrinkles out. You know how to do it. And when we put the dishes away, like the silverware, I remember distinctly her making us stack the spoons up in a nice straight line instead of just throwing them in that little, you know, silverware container all crooked and messed up. We had to do it straight and neat. And no, she didn't have OCD, I don't think. She just wanted to teach us that when you do something, do your best at it. That's what she was trying to teach us. And it did stick with me. When I try to do something now, I'm a little picky, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Be very mindful if you're going to lay your painted pieces down on your table about how you're laying them down. You don't want your nails to touch the table and brush off all this work you're doing to them. And you don't want them touching each other and getting red on some other part of the doll you don't want red on. Because if you don't notice it before you put it in the oven, it's now permanent when it comes out. The only thing that'll take it off is, unfortunately, acetone. Some people use something called goof off, but I've never tried that, and I don't know how it works. And I've heard well, acetone's quite stinky too, but I've heard this is super, super stinky. And I don't know how it works. I can't speak to that. I do know acetone works. But you have to be careful with acetone. I don't know about that goof off if it'll damage your vinyl any, but acetone can sure do it. I've stripped many a kit, and I vowed I'm not going to do it anymore, but that doesn't mean I won't. You know how that goes. We say we're not going to do something, and then we end up doing it. I'm not losing this kit. I'm going to strip it, you know. But I hate stripping kits. But in the process of all the times I've ever stripped a kit, I learned something about stripping kits. And this is what I learned. You can't put your vinyl, you have to have a container to put your acetone in, or you're going to just be forever pouring it on a rag because it evaporates so extremely speedy that you can't even get any work done before the acetone's just gone. And so I used a dishpan. If you're any age at all, or you came from the country, you know what a dishpan is. When we first came to this rural community I live in, a lot of people still didn't have running water. They drew their water from the well, and if they were going to wash their dishes, they didn't have any inside plumbing. They had to use a dishpan. It's just a plastic bin, so to speak, but they call it a dishpan. And way back in the day when my mother was young, people would use dishpans in their sink. They wouldn't make their dishwater in the sink and wash their dishes that way. They'd stick a dishpan down in the sink and do it with that. I don't know why. Maybe they thought the sink was too dirty. I don't know. But I used a dishpan. And you can still buy them at Walmart, and they're still called dishpans. And I poured the acetone in there, and I just put my parts right down in the acetone. I thought, well, it'll just take the paint off, and sure enough it did, but it also destroyed the vinyl to the point where after you are painting and baking, right at the little joints, like in the back of the knee or the elbow or something, it's coming apart because it's thinner there, and the acetone ate through the vinyl. So you can't lay your parts down into the acetone and let them soak and get the paint off that way. You have to hold them over the pan and just use a rag and wash them like this. And then I kept some soapy water in another pan that when I got the majority of it off, I dunk them in that to kill the action of the acetone. Oh, I got terrible digestive problems from the medicine I take. Makes you belch and hiccup and all kinds of things. Anyway, that's what you have to do if you want to strip a kit, which we don't really want to do that. We want to do it right the first time so we don't have to. But if you have to, you have to. But I'm not covering stripping kits. I've vowed I'm not stripping any more kits, so I'm trying to keep that vow. Yeah, his nails look good. Anyway, he's ready now for his second bake. If you count the bakes for the sealer, it's his fourth bake because he had two for the sealer, one for undertones, and this is his second one for undertones. So when we come back, we're ready to start putting layers on them. And I put mainly 3 layers on my dolls. Well, 3 colors, but I put 2 layers of each one. And then we're going to talk about in that video stacking layers, which is just putting 2 layers on before you bake. We're going to talk about that, why we do it, do we want to do it, is it better not to do it, all kinds of things. But I'm going to try to take you through every step of making this doll, including putting it together, dressing it, everything. But dressing a doll's like dressing a baby. You just put clothes on it. It's really nothing. But start to finish. This is a start to finish video. And I'm going to tell you why we do the things we do and all that stuff. He's going to be a bald baby. I will be putting hair on him, but we won't be doing it together because I'm going to make him as a bald baby. Then I'm going to root him, and then I'll come back and I'll put him together with hair on him. And you'll see him with hair. But and we'll put eyelashes on him. We'll put in his magnet, and we'll put him on his body and weight him, and we'll talk about all that stuff. And then the second doll we make, I'm gonna pencil hair on. I've penciled hair on hundreds of dolls, and I no longer like it, but I used to love it. I used to think it was the best way to go, and I wouldn't even consider anything else. But now I like rooted hair. And I'm currently rooting a doll already, and it's Emmy. And she has the hardest head. I've broken about 6 needles already. And I'm going, okay, I can't keep breaking needles on this doll. It's just getting on my nerves. When you first start, you're going to break 25 needles probably when you root one doll. But then after you get used to the way the needle sticks in the head and the angles you have to narrow your angles. You have to turn the head so you're not going in at real steep angles, because if you do that, you're going to break multiple needles. But her head is just hard, and when you try to stick the needle in, it just bends. And then I won't get a new needle if it's still intact. Even if it's bent, I'll just use it bent until it breaks, and then I'll get a new one. And I broke about 6 or 8 needles, I don't know. But anyway, I have another doll up there to root. I have 2 dolls that I haven't put together yet because I don't think their glue's dry enough. I do have their limbs stuffed. You know, I put the glass in, and then I put the polyfill in, and they're ready, but they're not put together yet because I'm waiting on their glue to have a day or 2 longer to cure, and then I'll put them together. But I put, I think 6 or... I think I put 6 together today. I didn't have any bodies, so I couldn't do it any sooner. And I finally got my bodies, so I put them together. So anyway, long story short, I usually put off putting my dolls together as long as I can until I have just a bunch of them like that. And now I have to go in the bedroom, and I have to dress them and photograph them and make their post and put them up for sale. It's a process, let me tell you. You have to dress them in a cute outfit, put bows and crap in their hair, and make them look just all done up, and take cute pictures. And otherwise, they just are so bland, people just pass them by, you know. And at the moment, I have about, I'm going to guess, I don't really know unless I look it up, but I think it's 75 dolls up for sale. And about 6 or 7 of them are... people have them in their cart already. If they would just buy them, I'd be so ecstatically happy. But the remainder of the dolls, other than 2 or 3 dolls, all have multiple people who have, they're watching them. On some sites, they call it a favorite. On other sites, they call it a watched item. And on another site, they might call it a like or something. But you can mark them with some sort of a way that they're on a list of things you like or want to keep the search that you made for it, where you don't have to research for it. So that means there's an interest in the doll. So the quicker you can get your dolls up, the quicker you're going to start getting interest. And interest turns into sales. And so get your dolls done and get them posted. As I'm not saying rush through making your dolls. I'm saying after they're done, put them together. Go on, put them together. Don't be like me and procrastinate. And then dress them, photograph them, and get them put up for sale so you can start getting people traffic toward them, because it takes time. It does. People are not. A few years ago, you just post a doll and 10 minutes later it's sold pretty much. You know, people were just snapping them up. And now people are being more careful with their money. Ever since COVID, things have changed to where people just aren't as free with their money as they used to be. They're watching them longer to see if you're going to reduce them, and they're asking you to reduce them. and a lot of things. So it's a whole new ball game out there now. So to really get your doll sold, you have to work a lot harder at it. And I don't mean making it. I mean getting it posted, making it look really cute, describing it really good. You know, all those kinds of things where people will go, "Oh, listen to what she wrote about this doll," you know, and it just sort of melts their heart or something, and then they want a doll. And I don't know how to put it, but I think you know what I mean. But anyway, we're going to get Liam in the oven and get him baked. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do any more to him today or not. It's getting on up in the evening. I put together a lot of dolls, and that takes some kind of time, let me tell you. I had to put their eyelashes on. I don't put the eyelashes on until I'm ready to put them together, because they get crushed and bent when you're rooting them. So it's one of the last steps I do, but it does make the process of putting them together longer, because you have to stop and put the eyelashes on. And then you also have to check them and make sure you remember to give them eyebrows. And then you have to, you know, did I gloss their nails and lips? You know, you just have to check all that stuff. You pretty much check them over completely. And then you put them together, and you have to stuff them, and you have to weight them and all that. Then you have to put their limbs on the body, and it's just a process. And so I did 6, or I don't know, maybe 8. It was several dolls. I didn't count them. They're in there laying on my bed waiting for me to come in there and put clothes on them. Ugh, I hate doing that too. Sometimes I just put them on the shelf without any clothes, and the next day I'll dress them. I don't know what I'm going to do today, because I have 2 dolls I need to get rooted, and I'm just about halfway through Emmy, because her head is so hard. It's taking forever. And I just can't wait to be done with her. I don't like doing heads that hard. I didn't realize her head was that hard, or I might not have even gave her hair. But anyway, and then I have another doll up here that needs hair. That's just a head. I'm trying to decide if I want to put it on a cuddle body or let it be just a head and try to sell it so somebody else can make a cuddle body. I don't know. But things. There's always things to do. And I need to dip all my brushes again. And it's a process. Making dolls is a process. But I love it. I love doing it. So I'm not complaining, because I really do love doing it. So anyway, I'm going to get him in the oven and get him baked and ready to get his next steps, which is going to be layers. We're going to put layers on him next. And I'm going to ask you to please like, subscribe, and share my videos. It means a lot to me. I really need all the followers I can get. And when people watch my videos and like my videos, I know they're watching, and then it makes me want to make more. Otherwise, I sometimes feel like, what's the need? I got 1 like, you know, 7 views and 1 like. Why am I doing it? But anyway, it does help people in any sort of video you're watching if they know that you're liking it. And a lot of people, they do like it. They just don't take, and I'm guilty of this myself when I'm watching videos. A lot of times I don't take the time to go over and actually push the like. But it means so much to the person who is making the video if you do that. And it makes them feel like I can go on and make more videos now, because people are actually liking them. Does that make sense? Anyway, please like and subscribe and share, and happy reborning.